The house we rented had one room locked from the inside. The house looked perfect online. Old wooden floors, tall windows, a quiet street surrounded by forest, the kind of place people rent when they want to disappear from city noise for a while. My friend Daniel found it first. "Look at this," he said, sliding his laptop toward me. "2 bedrooms. Big kitchen, and it's ridiculously cheap." That was probably the first red flag, but we booked it anyway. 2 weeks in a quiet house sounded perfect. When we arrived, the place looked exactly like the photos, maybe even better. Tall trees surrounded the property, and the air smelled like wet leaves and pine. No neighbors nearby, no traffic sounds, just silence. The landlord was already waiting outside when we pulled into the driveway. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He didn't say much, just handed Daniel a set of keys. Then he said something strange. "Most of the rooms are open." Daniel laughed. "Most?" But the landlord didn't smile. He just looked at the house for a moment and added quietly, "Some rooms should stay closed." Then he got into his car and drove away. Inside, the house was quiet and dusty, like it hadn't been used in a while. We spent the first hour exploring. Kitchen, living room, 2 bedrooms upstairs, bathroom. Everything looked normal, until we reached the end of the upstairs hallway. There was a door there. Old wood, scratched surface, and a heavy metal lock. Daniel grabbed the handle and tried to open it. Nothing. "Probably storage," he said. But something about the door bothered me, because the keyhole was on our side of the door, and yet the lock looked like it had been turned from the inside. Daniel noticed it too. "That's weird," he said. "How can it be locked from the inside if no one's in there?" I didn't answer. Something about the door made the hallway feel colder. We decided to ignore it, at least for the first night. That night, the forest was louder than expected. Branches tapping against windows, wind moving through trees. But sometime around 2:14 a.m., I woke up suddenly. At first, I didn't know why. Then I heard it. A slow, scraping sound. From upstairs. Like wood dragging across wood. My heart started beating faster. Daniel had fallen asleep on the couch downstairs while watching TV, so whatever I was hearing was coming from the hallway above. The sound came again. Slow. Heavy. Then it stopped. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The stairs creaked as I walked up. Halfway up the staircase, the air felt colder. When I reached the hallway, everything was silent. The locked door stood at the end like before, but something had changed. The bottom of the door had new scratches, fresh ones. Long lines carved into the wood, like something had dragged its nails across it from the inside. The next morning, I told Daniel what I saw. He didn't laugh this time. Instead, he walked upstairs to check the door again. The scratches were still there, fresh wood splinters around them. "That wasn't there yesterday," he said quietly. Later that afternoon, we saw the landlord again. He had returned to drop off extra towels. Daniel asked him about the locked room. The man froze for a second. Then he said, "Just leave that door alone." Daniel crossed his arms. "Why?" The landlord looked toward the hallway, then back at us. "Some doors stay closed for a reason." Then he left again. Daniel waited until the car disappeared down the road, Then he smiled. Okay, now I definitely want to see what's in there. That night, curiosity won. Around midnight, Daniel grabbed a screwdriver from the kitchen. You're serious? I asked. Of course, he said. It's probably just a stuck lock. We walked upstairs together. The hallway felt colder again. Daniel knelt by the lock and started working on it. Metal clicking, wood creaking. Then suddenly, the lock turned, by itself. Daniel froze. I froze. Neither of us had touched it. The handle slowly twisted, and the door opened a few inches. A cold smell drifted out. Rotten wood, dust, something damp and old. Daniel pushed the door open slowly. The room inside was empty. No furniture, no windows, just bare wooden walls. But the floor was covered in deep scratches. Long, circular patterns carved into the wood, like something had been dragged around the room again and again. Daniel stepped inside. His footsteps echoed strangely. Then he stopped. Why is the floor warm? I stepped closer. The air in the room felt heavy. Then I noticed something strange. A circle carved into the floor, perfectly round. Symbols scratched along the edges, old symbols. And in the center of the circle, a wooden hatch, built into the floor. Daniel crouched next to it. That definitely wasn't in the house listing. Then we heard it. A knock from below the hatch. Soft. 3 taps. Daniel slowly looked at me. Another knock came. 3 more taps. Then a voice. Weak. Quiet. From beneath the floor. Is someone there? Daniel stepped back, but the voice continued. I've been waiting. My chest tightened. Waiting? For who? The voice spoke again. Please, open the door. Daniel whispered. Someone's trapped down there. He grabbed the hatch handle. Wait, I started, but he had already pulled. The hatch opened slowly. The smell that came out was cold and damp, like a deep basement that had been sealed for years. Daniel pointed his flashlight downward. A wooden ladder disappeared into darkness. The beam of light traveled down, then stopped. My stomach dropped. At the bottom of the ladder, someone was standing there. A man. Thin. Pale. Looking up at us. His eyes reflected the flashlight like glass. Then he smiled. Slowly. Hello, he said. Daniel leaned forward. Are you okay? The man nodded slowly. I've been down here a very long time. Daniel whispered, We're going to get you out. But the man shook his head. Then he looked directly at me and said quietly, No. His smile widened. You're not here to let me out. The air in the room suddenly felt colder. Then the man put one foot on the ladder and started climbing. Slowly, step by step. Then he said something that made my blood freeze. You're here, so I can finally leave.